Amid the many evolving challenges in higher education, the strategic use of data has become essential to institutional success. Yet, as more data is collected, stored, and shared on campuses, privacy risks continue to grow. In response, institutions are increasingly seeking separate but interdependent roles for privacy and cybersecurity.
Privacy used to be really heavily legal. So when I first started working in privacy, everyone who worked in privacy were either lawyers or they were paralegals or had some sort of legal background. Now you're starting to see people who have more technical backgrounds. Maybe it's IT, maybe it's cybersecurity.
Privacy used to be, have we gotten the consents right? And do we have a data breach and how do we respond to that? In the last 7 or 8 years, we've seen a shift. I think that does start with the GDPR.
The GDPR, a regulation created by the European Union, helped to introduce tools like data protection impact assessments to evaluate risks not only to the organization, but to individuals.
Now you have a group of folks at your organization that is asking about the risk to a data subject, right? Not the risk to the organization, but actually the human being that's involved. And so for a while, that's kind of a quiet thing, right? That sort of sits, it's not as important as maybe the risk to, our DoD research or whatever the case might be. That, though, has become now the privacy office, and sometimes there's, some crossover with legal or ethics or security, but the organization now has these folks that are asking these questions. And as we move more into AI and more into modeling and predictive analytics, we find ourselves in a place where stuff feels creepy, right? And having some part of the organization that can respond to that, I think is why we're seeing more and more demand for privacy professionals.
It's really grown, and I think why it has grown more than anything is just technology. When I started, there wasn't a Facebook, there wasn't a smartphone. We didn't have Instagram, YouTube was barely a blip on the radar. And now you have all of these organizations that are collecting our data, they're storing our data. Sometimes we don't even know they're doing it. Sometimes they have to be forced to tell us to do what they're doing.
These social networks, along with the unbridled popularity of AI tools, translates to addressing privacy in a diverse range of settings, and approaching these complex risks is more successful when privacy officers are involved in projects earlier.
Getting privacy introduced at ideation is the goal. That is training, that is awareness, that is a long journey. I think, honestly, most of the time we have folks that are in like the third quarter and we get brought in, and there's good and bad in that, right? We got brought in, that's great, and we can kind of talk about what we need to do to help our data subjects, but it is kind of disruptive, right? They're partway down and now we have to make a change.
I think as privacy professionals, assume that everyone understands privacy. They understand some of the bare, basics of privacy, but they don't understand the ins and outs and the nuances and whatnot of privacy. So it's my job to educate them on how privacy is important, why it's important, and how to best sort of incorporate it in whatever project, whatever software system you're hoping to bring in, whatever it is you want to do. I want you to think privacy as you're doing that.
As the role of privacy continues to evolve in higher education, early integration, proactive collaboration, and ongoing education will be key to addressing the risks of today's data-driven institutions. By prioritizing privacy today, institutions can lay the groundwork for secure and ethical innovation tomorrow.